Go on, save New Orleans. What they got down there worth saving? What, jazz? Jazz music? I hate jazz music. Sound like a long car accident involving some cats.
It's about to make a change. Do it with some soul and a little love. Change. Yeah, it's about to make a change. Do it with some soul and a little love. Change. You can't make a change unless you got the love. Change. Do it with some soul and a little love. Change. You can't make a change unless you got some love. Change. Do it with some soul and a little love. Change. We started from the bottom, talking about the roots.
Well, hi there, strangers. We've been gone for quite a bit.
Just a minute.
And you know what? George Bush doesn't care about Black people, but we do. We do. And this episode, we're doing season 2, episode 9 of the Boondocks, Invasion of the Katrinians.
Nope.
In which?
Nope. Katrinians. No? The Katrinians.
Okay, in which a family displaced by Hurricane Katrina shows up looking for a place to stay, and Granddad tries to get rid of them as quickly as possible. But before we get into all that good, you guys,
So,
MJ still got some shit going on.
One day her kid's going to be like a major league baseball player, and we will have like reparations from that. So,
we will be the Katrinians.
We will totally be the Katrinians.
But we have a special guest in the meantime, Mr. Drake.
So,
not that Drake, y'all.
Not that
the
Drake,
cooler
yeah.
one. The good one. Do you want to introduce yourself?
The dark skin version. How y'all doing? I am Drake, or Mr. D713 with Everything Culture, the podcast for all cultures, the podcast for purpose. Thank y'all for welcoming me on here. I've once again been a fan, been checking y'all out for some time, ever since I jumped on Twitter. We were able to have a little episode together for, was it New Year's?
Yeah, that's right.
Was it Trump or was it New Year's?
No, that was
one of
that was the election. That was election night. Yeah, we got a live stream. That's right.
Yeah, that was exciting.
I was in a mental health episode for like a while there. So I don't remember a lot of it. Thank God.
It was wild times. We got to take care of ourselves. But yeah, we've been podcasting close to going over 2 years now. My podcast is really about learning and talking to different people, having different guests to come on to have a conversation about their backgrounds, traditions, upbringing, social norms, beliefs, cultures. Our mission statement comes from the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and those are, he believed that men hate each other because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other, and they don't know each other because of segregation and miscommunication. So our platform is built off the pillars of respect, communication, consistency, so we can love each other, so we can get to know each other, so we can love one another. So, and I talk a lot of shit. We have fun,
Good.
We have fun.
Good. I like that. Stuff. You were talking before the show about like talking to family members for your podcast. And I just kept thinking there's so much about my family that I have no idea about. I like most of my contact with my dad's, with both sides of my family is like Facebook. Like I don't have a connection with family. My dad moved up to Seattle in 1974. And we rarely went to visit, so like I have cousins who the last time I saw them, I was 15 years old, 16 years, somewhere around there. And they're all grown ups with kids themselves now. And like, I haven't seen them in person in several decades.
and I, once again, bringing them on and having this conversation. Some of these family members, I thought I knew well, but I haven't even started on my dad's side yet. So we have, I think I have 4 more episodes for the end of season 3 of Everythang Culture. And I have a Father's Day episode coming up soon. And I have 3 more that's going to be specific with the family. So I did the ones with my cousins. They're like in their 40s, 50s. I have my aunt's uncle, which is in their 70s, 64, 70. Then I'm bringing in the 30s around my age. And I'm bringing in the mid-20s. I may do an extra one if I can get them, giving in the recent graduates. They're like 18, 19.
Nice.
So, because once again, when we talk about culture, a lot of people think of your ethnicity and think, no, your generation, your age, that's your culture as well.
Absolutely.
And the way people think is so unique. And man, when I tell you my pristine aunts and uncles, you think they've been so good and well behaved because they've been they did the same stuff we were doing when they were teenagers, but we never sit down and have that conversation with them. You can say, oh, okay. Or you realize why I found out my grandmother, I did not know my grandmother and grandfather came from two different type of churches.
Ooh.
You know, they were, and it makes sense. My grandmother was Kojic, and I like, that makes a lot of sense. I'm like, wow. We went to church almost every day. But that's a whole nother thing.
Whew, okay.
Yeah. When people, you think people joke about, no, seriously, like my grandfather used to have to come and tell, I'm taking these kids. They have to go to school in the morning. Like we'll be at like revivals to like 1 o'clock in the morning. But
oh my gosh,
that's a whole different culture right there.
Yeah, definitely. That's just amazing. I mean, I always joke with my friends that my parents didn't tell me shit until I found it out as adults. And that's generally true on most of the things in my life, including things like a sister and an uncle with a whole nother side of the family and, you know, a bunch of stuff like that. You know, my great-grandfather might not be my great-grandfather, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fun stuff right there.
So it's fascinating to me, the idea of getting to know all of that, you know, like, especially because now with 23andMe for me personally, you know, more people are doing these DNA tests, and I did 23andMe along with my mother and my half sister, and like hundreds of thousands of second and third cousins out there, like, right?
Time for a family reunion. Time for a family reunion.
I'm about to say, y'all bold as fuck. I've been crossing my family on this podcast. You've been watching this episode. How Drake's like, and you as well, Tiara, were like, oh yeah, I saw a lot of my family in this. I was like, I am not going there. I'm not saying shit.
Well, most of my experiences with my family are from like the 80s and 90s. Like literally my dad's side of the family, you know, and my dad and I, we didn't have, Lynxi, you know this, you've heard a lot about this. We didn't have the kind of relationship where we talked to each other a lot. And so there was a lot that I didn't know about him, a lot that like my mom told me once I was an adult, you know, things that he did that resulted in him having to join the military and go to Vietnam twice. And, you know, like it wasn't until I was much older that I found out the reasons why my dad was such a hardcore Democrat, considering some of the views he had did not line up with it. And like understanding that was a cultural thing for him, that voting Democrat was something you do. And like now just going through this last election cycle where we had like Joe Biden, it was like, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. Like,
oh, did y'all listen to the episode I did about
no, I haven't. Oh
man.
That was something that made my dad come to me and ask me to start talking about socialism to him. And I was like, okay, you're ready to hear me now.
And you, once again, what we're doing right here is a true craft. So y'all keep it up. But when I tell you, when my family, that's bringing them in as also showing, hey, I need to pay attention to what I'm doing. I'm just not just, you know, pulling stuff out my butt.
Yeah.
But when that episode, that was the episode we had fun on right before the George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery murder. And then we found out Breonna Taylor. You know, that was when the summer kicked off.
Yeah.
But I remember when I saw that, I'm like, I had to replay. I know he didn't say that. I know it was like I was living in the Boondocks episode. I was like, I know that just didn't happen. Like, this is a joke, you know?
Right. I thought it was like, because I didn't hear him say it or see the thing until later. I saw something on Twitter about it, and I was like, oh, is there like an Onion article or something? And then I'm like, no, he actually fucking said that.
He actually said that. What they say, he was caught in 4K. That's what they think. He was like legit. And and that's what we had a conversation. It was me, the Truck Cast, my previous, you know, one of the creators of Everythang Culture, and another podcaster, and we was like first time Zooming, and we just having a good time. And we talked about that. I would say I don't claim, which I always ask on the show when you come on. Hopefully y'all come on soon. And I interview people separately because I want to know individually what they believe in themselves, but what you identify as.
Mm-hmm.
Democrat is not what I identify as. Some people, they may feel like that. I was not born a Democrat, and it's not a gang to me. And I was a caseworker for 2 years for the state of Texas, and I was a guardian ad litem, worked a lot in family law court. And I'm kind of in between. And watching this, because once again, I have views on both sides, and I grew up on food stamps. I grew up poor. I've seen the size of different points. I'm from Fort Worth. Okay. And I'm like, but when I come to that aspect where, man, do I have to join this gang to be accepted, to be appreciated? And that's what it feels like to me. It feels like such a gang related. And one of my favorite movies is Gangs in New York. If you ever watch it, man, if you haven't watched it, check it out. It's very long, but it shows how this is really gang. You would get fucked up back in the day for voting. This is serious.
Yeah. So that's actually, that's a, I fully 100% agree with you on that. I feel like I was born, quote unquote, a Democrat. I was raised through,
You throw up a D.
Well,
you got the color.
I had my dad pictured himself as a, I guess what you would call it, a progressive now. He's pictured himself as still that, Black kid growing up in the South and having to deal with, everything that he had to deal with in, the 40s, 50s, 60s. But his coping mechanisms in the 50s and 60s are what got him sent to Vietnam or prison. He had that choice. So coming out of that as, the Democrats at this point, we're looking at Kennedy time, and then beyond, and seeing that, the Democrats are really trying to do the right thing for Black people. And therefore that became his gang.
His rationalization for it. Absolutely. Absolutely understand. Same thing with on the Republican side. People feel like that represented power. It represented their morals there. Once again, when I talk about morals a lot, where do they come from? Why do you feel like that? Because if your grandmother told you to do it, and everybody loved their grandmother and their grandpa, pop, so they have to be right. So when it comes down to debunking some of these things that I've done, it's cultural diversity in Texas, but DEI work I've been doing for years and years on. It's to have that conversation is growth. It's hard to do sometimes. Some people, if you would have came to me at the age of 19 and you would have told me you're not supposed to put butter on a burn, I would have told you to kiss my ass, and I probably would have fought you.
I love Dean totally burst into laughter over here.
But I am being dead serious. 3 academic scholarships, 1 full ride, one of the top in my class, smart kids, but if you would have said butter, no, you put butter on a burn. And if you would have said something no, that's stupid as hell. Okay, now you've activated we have a problem chip, okay? Because you call my grandmother stupid. All right.
Yep.
But that's what it comes down to. Once again, me doing CPS, where when you work with kids, and I work with volunteers. I work for an organization named CASA. It started up here in Seattle.
I work with CASA all the time.
Oh yeah, so it was
I guess.
But, I'm a volunteer with them now, and I'm since I do the train. I've done trainings with them. I train probably thousands of volunteers. Work with hundreds of kids.
Now, for people out there that don't know what CASA is,
court appointed special advocates. There are volunteers that are trained. So when it started here in Seattle, Washington, by a judge by the name of David Sukup. Judge Sukup was getting overwhelmed. He was not getting accurate information from the attorneys and the caseworkers. Being a caseworker is a very hard job. Hug a caseworker, ask for permission first, then buy him a shot, something, help him out. It's very stressful work. But he was not getting enough information, and some of these attorneys were not being upfront because they're stressful as well. Yeah, but we ain't gonna go down all
and it might not be in their best interest or their client's best interest.
Bingo, there you go. And so just Sukup, it was a case. I think it was Mary Allen has how CPS started, but it was a little girl that she was been abused. And CPS and the attorneys dropped the ball. So he said to his bailiff one day, hey, Do you know any people that can come out and help? Anybody's willing to volunteer something, just a few people. That was on a Friday. Judge came back Monday, and it was a courtroom full of people ready to help. And this was in 1964. I may be mistaken, maybe 76. But even 1964, 1974. I used to know this like the back of my hand.
You definitely know more details than I do.
Yeah, and CASA's grown to be nearly 1,000 programs nationwide. The program I was part of in Houston was one of the largest programs in the nation. And we serve between 4,000 to 5,000 children in Harris County. Harris County had a lot of kids. They had the most cases of CPS cases in the nation. And other than Dade County is right behind that. Mm. But when I tell you, when you're a volunteer, you don't know. Some people have good hearts. Some people don't. And I was over all the trainings for the volunteers, especially coming into cultural diversity. And I had to tell people all the time, same thing I do with my show. Basically, everything I do with Everythang Culture, I brought from my trainings, I brought into the podcast form. And it's hard trying to tell people, like, hey, I know you was raised to believe this. I know you have all these preconceived notions. But when you come here, I'm trying to teach you something new. Okay? Something you may not have heard before. Because when you go into a family's house, especially, no matter what happened, they could have spanked their child, neglect them, left them in a car, whatever the case may be. You treat this person with respect, because that's how we're going to get to the end goal. And you'd be surprised how if you just treat a mother, a father, an aunt, uncle, cousin, just, hey, tell me and ask what's your side of the story, what happened, and what do you want? They would tell you. They would like absolutely thank. They would just be so shocked and happy for somebody just to listen to them. I
working with the population that I do, I tend to get a lot of foster kids or people in transitional housing and, a lot of trauma in their backgrounds. And like, that's how I end up working with CASA workers at like wraparound team meetings and that sort of thing. But I really do. One of the things that I absolutely notice especially with the Black and brown families that I work with, because I work in a program that traditionally is just kind of like where they send the behavior kids. It used to be that I would get a lot of flack from the parents because they had never had a teacher tell them anything good about their kid. They never had a teacher call unless there was an emergency or something that their kid had done and that they now have to like deal with it. And in my first year of teaching that program, I made a rule that we only call home with good things unless it's something dangerous. And that, like, by the end of that year, I had two parents who had never, like, in person actually come into an IEP meeting who were like, I'm actually friends with one of them on Instagram now. She added me yesterday. She wanted me to see, the little girl that I worked with growing up. And so, like, some of those families are just waiting for someone.
Isn't that a good feeling?
Oh, it's wonderful. Some of these families are just really waiting for somebody to see them. And to see that that there's nothing, that they're not bad, that like that family in particular, mom was a single mom with 5 kids and they had just gotten permanent housing when that student came into my class. And that student, diagnosed, of course, with emotional and behavior disorders, which I fully disagree with. But I only had her for, if you count last year's weird year, I had her for a year and a half, and then a half a year of we basically just had social groups online. But I had her for a year and a half, and in that time, it went from mom would never answer anything when I would call home to like mom texting with me every day, and like full on when that child was going into middle school, mom was like, I kind of wish that she could just stay here so she could stay with you. So like things like that, like these families, they just need the people with the good hearts to actually be there. And, a lot of us with the good hearts are getting burnt out really fucking quick.
Overwhelmed. Absolutely. So I absolutely understand. That's why you got to have your emotional bank account. You got to take care of yourself. You can't go broke trying to, wear out. I still have my mentees. I understand that. I used to train people. Somebody hit me up for personal training. So like managing volunteers, managing yourself. I can come off being very playful. I guess I don't speak my resume enough, but I was doing a space. We need to do a space on not Clubhouse, on Twitter soon. I wanted everyone to message because some people came in, try to argue and fight. And when I put on I'm a mediator as well. And when I came in, I'm like, hey, I see we have a disagreement. Let's get down to where we're at. And when some other people came in and try to instigate, throw gasoline on the fire, I'm like, hey, we're making progress here. Let's move it. Oh, are you a therapist or something? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, not a therapist. Well, I got my degree. Oh, I got my degree in psychology. I do too. Okay, what does this come in play? But if you come, it's hard. You got to fight love. Yeah. You got to fight hate. You got to fight hate with love. You can't fight hate with hate. You got to fight light against darkness. It's as simple as that. So and I know it come off cheesy. Like but I always say with Everything Culture, we always try to make progress so we can love and understand and grow. But I still reserve the right to whoop your ass because these hands is a language as well. Okay, it's that's a way we have to communicate. I would hate that we have to go here, but I'm all for peace if possible. But that's something some people don't understand every way. Oh yeah, talk about that. Right here with Boondocks, one thing I love, I think about Stink Miner and all that, man. It's like, it's because it's all these things they say off the Boondocks I love. And I love the points because it touches on so much because they're true, they're accurate. It's like, you don't want to admit to some of the stuff, but it is. You can say it's a
it doesn't make it pretty.
But yeah, and it's like, but that's like so many exact experience. Watching this and having family members. I'm gonna let y'all lead it, but man, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, other than, is there any news, Lynxi, anything happening that you wanted to talk about before we dig into this?
No, not at all.
Cool. We can talk about that thing later.
Sure.
All right. So this episode starts with Huey basically talking about what happened after Hurricane Katrina in the 9th Ward in Louisiana, in New Orleans, where the levees broke and essentially killed whoever had not gotten out and devastated the entire area and essentially leveled it. And so it's hard to watch. Like, I didn't personally go through Katrina, but I have family who was down there still at the time. There's less of them now in the area than there used to be. So that was kind of like when I watched this episode, I was like, oh, okay, I remember that time. So then Granddad is serving food, lots of lobster and shellfish and mussels, and and the phone rings and Huey says it's Jericho Freeman, and Granddad is like, oh yeah, that's the part of the family from Louisiana, and they got caught in Katrina, and I wish that there was something I could do, as the phone rings and rings and rings, and he just absolutely does not answer the phone, and then the doorbell rings and it's Jericho and his family. The next part, before I talk about the next scene of actually like talking to the family, I feel like at the time or shortly after the time, what happens in this episode was what basically the news was showing us all the time. These people have nowhere to go, and they are depending on the kindness of strangers. And I just, again, with that, the realness that does not, you don't want it to be. Like that's exactly, I remember my dad not taking phone calls. And I mean, he hardly ever answered the phone anyway. We had an answering machine for like,
take it back,
like 5 years before anyone else in the neighborhood did. Like he was a master at not answering the phone. And now here I am, never answering my phone. So Jericho lays the whole story on Robert, and Robert just tries to brush it away, like, oh yeah, that's real tragedy, and that's too bad.
That's crazy.
I love Granddad. Woo, woo.
Well, I'm gonna pray for you.
Are you catching up?
Yep. And then hit him with my diabetes acting up. Fine. Granddad just gives in because he knows that he has no way of turning them away at this point. And then I don't know how many people ended up coming in, like 9, 10, something like that.
I would say between 8 and 10.
8 and 10, yeah. I did not actually pay attention enough to count, I'll be honest. So they move in. They just basically act like it's their own house. Kids constantly jumping on the furniture. The Lil Wayne guy. That's all I can think of when it's Lil Wayne when I see this.
Was that Lil Wayne though?
It was, yeah. Okay, yeah, perfect. I didn't actually know that.
It sounds just like him. I was like, that sounds like Lil Wayne.
and such a perfect little asshole. I love that you're showing me that. I don't have my glasses on right now. It's too hot for them.
Don't you have to do this without the fan on?
We've got the small fan on, but the rest of the room is just. Ugh. Yeah, so he's looking at all the things and basically talking about how, if he was another kind of person, he would steal all that stuff and they would never even know. Riley wants to keep an eye on him. Takes his concern to Granddad. Granddad is he doesn't want them to be there, but he also feels bad for them. He still has that empathy part that's tugging at him. And Huey is, his normal self and, talking about how Riley is kind of an asshole and, these people have nothing. Well, they can go and what do you say? Go live on the street. Go live somewhere else is basically what Riley says. He does not care where that is. He just wants it somewhere else. Granddad says they're going to stay for now. Then the news shows up because Jericho called them. And basically they have this whole new story about how Robert is going to take in the Katrinian refugees. Granddad gets so upset because he knows that other people are going to show up now. And that's exactly what happens next. And Robert just is so angry. One of my favorite things out of that scene, though, is when the news lady asks him, what do you expect to get out of this? And he's like, not a goddamn thing. Because he knows he ain't going to get shit. And this is just, it's all going to somehow blow up in his face. He knows it. So Riley and Huey are left to clean up and cook for Jericho's family. They like to complain about the things they have and what they don't have.
Y'all might as well stop making that Kool-Aid right now because I don't even drink grape. I only drink cherry and strawberry. When y'all going to the store too, because I don't even eat that shit y'all got up in here. Y'all ain't got no butter beans, no scramps, no hog moss. Y'all ain't got shit.
I love that because I have to be honest, I had no idea what any of that was.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I was born and raised here. My Louisiana family, again, I haven't been around them in 30 years.
I understand. Hey, once again, different culture. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I chose this quote. It reminded me so much of one, our home was this home that Robert is resenting being. Like any issue in our family, you always kind of moved in with my mom because she owned a duplex. So it was always family in, family out. Problems here, you move in with Aunt Mary, problems out, whatever. So we were used to it. And my mom always had this saying she would say about people who would complain about anything going on in our home, which was, XX doesn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, but they want to tell me about my hog mogs. So I was just like, yo, holy flashbacks to that, man. Like this shit. Yeah, I know this all too well. Like, y'all, it's all about being gracious and just accepting the quote unquote charity that is extended to you. Lord, child.
My thing is, I've been on both sides. I've been that family that came in and needed the help and needed the assistance. And I was, man, it's crazy. The little girl, I was like the little girl. Okay. I was to try to be sweet. I will ask for the stuff that's delicious and the good stuff, and I will be. Well, I understand if you don't want to give it to me. Thank you. That was, but I would genuinely feel that way. But I also had a brother that was like, "Oh, he's gonna tear your stuff completely up." Like it, and I was a fat kid, so I'm also gonna eat everything you got as well. So
I was too. Yep.
My thing was always that, I mean, no matter where I went, I was always the picky eater. Flash forward a few decades and you find out, hey, you're autistic, and that makes total sense. But when you're young and you just know that you don't like that because it doesn't feel good in your mouth, you become the problem child of the family. So I would be like that, but not in an ungrateful way, just more of a, I can't eat any of the stuff you have here. Can I like make my own food?
For my family, it was more like my mom, she was into baking. So she might make a chocolate cake, and then whoever would show up and be like, "Oh, Mary, why didn't you make a carrot cake? Carrot cakes are so much more moist." And da-da-da-da-da. And she would just be there like, "Yo, really?" And then she would just kind of talk shit to us in the afterward. But it reminds me of, I'm being corny, y'all. If you've ever seen Prince of Egypt, there's a quote in that movie where they say, when all you've got is nothing, there's a lot to go around. That was my family. We ain't have shit. So come over and don't have shit with us. Like, we work it out. We make it happen.
My family usually pushed that I was the kid that made it. They saw that what I went through in life, man, I grew up very poor, mother, abused substances, had lupus, mental illness, the whole nine. I have a story. Go listen to Mr. D, the makers of Mr. D713 if you like, if you want to hear all that. But so now I'm into the point that got home, have quite a bit of stability, doing well for ourselves, where we can, help out where in the family where we can. And man, I usually compare it to soul food. How, I don't know if you've seen the film Soul Food, how it's an Aunt Terry that I used to hate Aunt Terry when I was a kid because she was the bougie aunt. She didn't want to give everybody money when they needed. She was rich. She might as well. And now I understand where Aunt Terry coming from. When now my family, this is how y'all treat me. That's what, I'm like, I'll do it. And the part where I see, man, the frustrating with my thing, people take your kindness for weakness. One, they manipulate you, and then they're ungrateful. The cable television. We haven't had cable in some time because I was like, why do we need cable? We were in school at the time. I think we were just graduating. We're too busy to watch all these channels. So we was like early on Netflix and Hulu. Okay. And we have a 4-bedroom house, big backyard, front yard, wood, like very nice house. This is in Texas, not in Seattle. Anything you name, we got almost, but we just don't watch cable. I have a family member that don't have a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. We use that term. Why y'all don't have cable? Ugh. Y'all don't have this, not that. Who are you talking? Like, what do you mean? Like, are you serious?
We left off where Jericho and Robert are walking around, and Jericho is telling his story about how he lost all the money in the flood, and that the insurance company would only pay for, or wouldn't pay for wind insurance, and even though he had flood insurance, and like, just basically, the insurance company was fucking him. Like, we all know that they were doing. He tried to get a job, but because for some reason he thought he had to act like he was a Mexican day laborer, he didn't. Like, if he had just gone up and said his name, I'm pretty sure he probably would have got a job. But by pretending to not speak English,
no,
like the white guy was like,
Have you been? No. Let me tell you something. No, that was accurate.
Yeah, okay.
Jericho was doing what he knew he had to do.
All right.
I'm just saying. Now, maybe not in Texas. Not until I came here to Seattle, I saw white people doing construction like you see on television.
Okay.
In Texas, you see it's a different labor force in Texas. Like,
see, I grew up with Labor Ready being not far from where I live, and so you would see lines of people just looking for work, for day laboring work, and it was all races. Like, you go to Home Depot and you see a certain community looking for work, and you go to Workforce or what was it called, Labor Ready, and but you see every type represented there, and that's more what I was used to seeing. So
it's a conversation about that. That day laborer. It's like a coalition almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just like it's just random people. Some people got to know you to even come around them. You know, you got to be vouched for sometime. I need to bring somebody on the show. Yeah, that's a good comment.
So you were saying earlier about people getting the check and then disappearing, and I feel like this is where Robert starts to suspect that that's what's going to happen, because Jericho's talking about once that FEMA check arrives, he's going to do all these things for him, and then the insurance conversation comes in. My bad.
What happened to your insurance? Oh, I had insurance. Had rain insurance, had flood insurance, but the damn insurance company said I didn't have no wind insurance. So I couldn't get no money. Can you believe that? Wind insurance? Ain't that the biggest ripoff you ever heard? So I said to the guy, what kind of shit is this? He said,
Hey there, Dawkins. I heard there was some Katrinians in town, so I brought out my old violin that only plays sad songs. Boo ho ho, nigga. It ain't the white man's fault you dumb niggas don't know that there's wind in a hurricane.
who is this?
Long story.
But Mr. Charlie stayed one step ahead, don't he? I can see him now. Guess what? I just saved a bunch of money on my insurance. Cause these dumb niggas didn't know there was wind in a hurricane. Oh, what? You got some more sad songs, huh? That what you got for me? Oh, you mad cause your Katrina welfare check ain't showed up yet? Hell, y'all niggas wasn't making but $3 an hour before Katrina. Now each of y'all want $300,000, huh? Ain't that some bullshit?
Yeah, come here.
Somebody call the police!
I appreciated that scene so much. Somebody finally put hands on.
Oh, right. Now, I have to admit, I can't remember exactly why I wanted to pull that clip in the first place, but every time I think about it, something new pops out for me. Like the fact that Ruckus walks up and is like, hey, darkies, and he's darker than both of them. Like that, just right off the bat, you're just like, dude, what?
The Uncle Ruckuses have been on the rampage this past 4 or 5 years, and they're not going anywhere soon. Uncle Ruckus always been a real person.
Right. That's and so when this show came out originally, all I could see was a caricature. But the last few years of Trump and black Trump supporters and black face of Republican Party and all of that bullshit, like. I'm like, oh, okay. I bet you in private, that's exactly what you are saying. Oh, and that's what you are saying. That's for sure. Oh, Candace Owens? Oh, hell yeah, you are saying that.
You guys want
guaranteed.
TikTok content? Yo, that's your next big TikTok video. Take clips of Candace Owens and just put Uncle Ruckus tracks while we're talking.
Wow, hey, that is genius.
Holy
All
shit.
right, doing it. Dean's gonna do it.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
Yeah, I already had a plan to do that with Tim Scott.
Yes. All of them. Oh my Jesus Christ.
That's hey, she didn't get paid for that. Like, that was yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that just cracks me up so much that he's so ingrained this idea of whiteness being this great thing and he hates himself so much that he does not see that he is actually, with his reverse vitiligo, that he's actually, much darker, and how much of this, like, oh, poor boohoo you is, somebody is worse off than me right now. Like that was kind of where I was seeing that, like, we know Ruckus works like 5 million jobs. Like he's got to be, you got to be, hurting for money somewhere.
Yeah, they had an episode about that. But that is the core. That's a part of Uncle Ruckus.
Yeah, definitely.
That was making. Oh my gosh. Hey,
Go ahead.
No, I'm telling you, I'm glad because I've always said somebody would kick. I would put some hands on them. And having somebody from the South to do it felt good. That
you knew,
about
like,
right.
somehow Granddad was never going to actually do it. Like, he keeps giving this man chances and, like, is actually genuinely trying to be his friend when he is just a terrible person.
Right. But all was like, who else? Because that was played by Cedric the Entertainer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah. But who this cat right here? Oh no. We're gonna have to handle that. We kind of come from a more of a, once again, he has to speak to him in a different type of language.
Yes.
That's what had to happen.
Absolutely. The only way Ruckus is going to understand is through those hands.
We talked about it on the original preview and on Podscare, I think, too. All I do these days in the pandemic is like I work and I watch YouTube. Like I've kind of exhausted TV. I haven't looked into this, but I've been meaning to. And I don't know if you guys have heard this, but apparently right now there is a thing in the South of insurance companies stealing old Black people's homes. Like they'll accuse you of insurance fraud, like, oh, like you filed this claim, da 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 da. And it's kind of like an ancient case. And then they like kind of charge you. Like I saw it on some story with a 95-year-old grandma in Florida who was charged with insurance fraud. And they basically cause so much red tape that you fall behind on your wind insurance payment. And then the insurance company moves in and takes these homes that were once bought at a cheaper price and are now worth $500,000, $600,000, and they snatch it. I haven't looked into it. I've been meaning to, but I just saw that the other day and was like, what the fuck? For real?
That's something I used to look into. I never heard of it, not from the insurance company. But even when they talk about the whole wind insurance, people actually, that is a real thing right there, people experiencing. But I've heard about people doing that with back taxes, though. That you don't know if you owe taxes on your house or not, and they will legit go and pay the taxes off. The taxes they'll try to put it like they're the owner of the house now, and if you get paid, and why people still living in it, just not being aware. So, it unfortunately wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, we got to look into it. I really don't know. I can't say that's true, but I definitely saw a video on it.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist in any way, but they're absolutely. I know you are. there absolutely sounds like it's collusion all across the board, you know?
Oh yeah, it's not conspiracy when it's happening right in front of you. Okay?
Exactly. That's what I say all the time. It's a conspiracy until the truth fucking comes out, and then people want to pretend, oh, you weren't so crazy.
Or the other way around, actually, the one news thing that I did pay attention to this week, because so many people on Twitter were talking about it because they can't read fucking emails and understand context. But like with the Fauci emails getting all released and people are like, oh, Anthony Fauci said this back in March of 2020. It was a conspiracy. No, he didn't fucking know. Just like nobody fucking It's like if you actually read them in context, you can see that it's emails back and forth with what they think is happening and sharing information across the world. This is a good thing, people. Anyway.
Don't stress yourself out. I had my rant on Snapchat earlier.
Oh, jeez. I have so many rants that I just do in my head and then never actually like see the light of day.
You gotta let it out. Do not keep that stuff in your head.
The next scene is the police have been called and the news is there because there was violence, and you know Ruckus is trying to get Jericho arrested for beating him up, and then Tom, of course, being Tom, steps in to mediate the situation that he thinks is happening. And you know, Tom is really good at trying to calm tensions. He likes to be the one that kind of steps in to calm things down.
Be a mediator.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tom sometimes.
Sometimes, yes. So later, the next scene, we see Jericho on the phone with FEMA saying that they've been approved and that they should get it in 3 months. Which, of course, makes Granddad, Riley, and Huey completely fed up. And Robert decides he's got to make them want to move out because, you know, telling them to move out would be mean, but making them not want to be there is their decision.
Yeah.
Oh, hey!
What
happened? Oh,
Robert,
what's wrong
something
with TV?
wrong with the cable.
Well, if we all gonna have to be here for the next 3 months, we're gonna have to make some cutbacks.
Oh, this nigga tripping.
Well, if it's too much to handle, you can always leave.
Oh, now the Lord is gonna provide.
We some Ninth Ward Negroes, survivors, huh? We used to going without.
Oops, there go the lights.
And so the gauntlet was thrown in the battle of the selfish versus the lazy.
Man ain't paid the light bill.
He also turns off the AC and the water. which of course causes all of this uproar in the family, and they take off trying to just, to give it time. They'll move out on their own, so we're going to leave. And then when they're on their way back, they find out that Jericho was stealing water and electricity from the house across the street, causing Tom to take up a collection in the neighborhood to get all of the services turned back on. Tom being the nice guy, trying to help again. Tom. So then the next thing that Robert comes up with as a way to get them to leave is to pretend that there's a hurricane coming and tell them that the rain is coming, and they run out and tries to, he gets Jericho and his family to climb up on the roof, but they create a hole in the attic in order to do it as an emergency get out of the house kind of thing. So then the next thing is Granddad talking to Whitney, the little cute little girl with the orange juice, asking why they're staying there and why they just won't leave. And he finds out that Whitney thinks that they're really rich, that like everybody in the family thinks they're really, really rich. So Robert lets them know he's on a fixed income and says, Jericho and his son are going to need to get a full-time job if they're going to be staying there. Which of course, anonymously the news finds out about and shows up and asking why, Robert is trying to kick out these refugees. Robert is pissed, of course, and Jericho says, but it wasn't him. But Robert was done. Phone was turned off. Jericho freaks out because he needs that phone for FEMA. They end up fighting, and then he actually does kick them out of the house. Delivery shows up right as he's kicking them out. Jericho opens the envelope and reads that he hasn't filled out the proper forms for his FEMA check. Huey suggests that they go back to New Orleans and fight for their home. Jericho's son asks him about it, and basically like, why are we going to leave here? But Jericho's like, because we actually got a $200,000 check and we can go. So they do. And that's basically the end of the story. The end of the episode today, which if there was a part 2, like we said, as soon as that money is out, they're either back or they're looking for another family member.
So I'm going to let y'all take this one before I jump in.
I mean, nope, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just as Huey said. It's the episode, as these episodes often do, are exasperating the differences between the lazy and the selfish. Mm-hmm. Like, we do all have these family members. We do all know these people. And again, if you are kind of a giving and empathic person, the minute you learn to set boundaries, everyone writes you out as the fucking villain. Mm-hmm. You are the devil because you were once a person, a source of everything that they needed. They could get from you, play on your soft heart, play on your values, kind of read you and make you feel like shit for not giving. And the minute you say, you know what, I'm not putting myself out for you. Canceled. You are it. You are the talk of the town. Like, that's why I said, like, listen, y'all, shit. I'm trying to not get into any family shit on my end. My family does not appreciate the way I speak to I am very honest about my life experiences as well. And growing up poor and having a dad who I love to pieces, but my dad spent the majority of my life as a crackhead. I am not apologizing for my dad's choices anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the shit that happened. It went down. It is what it is. My family feels a way about it. Okay, feel a way about it. I'm going to tell my truth. All right. Mm-hmm. So, and you kind of got to get in that mode of like, yo, I'm in my power. You be who you want to be. I'll be selfish. You be lazy, whatever. And live your best life. Yeah. That's where I am on it.
I need to talk to you.
She's been through some shit. She's been through it.
And what you're saying is frustrating. Exactly. Because it seems like, once again, my family, like the elders of my family, the young, my little cousins and stuff like that, they're like in their 20s. They call me, uncle. Mm-hmm. And one of them called me uncle. I'm like, I'm just 2 years old. But that's like a line of respect we have, mm-hmm. Just in the community. And it's, once again, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Not at all. Okay. And experience that Lynxi was saying, or Layla was saying, it's like, that's what I had, Mm-hmm. And so when my elders see, they don't give any excuses to to everyone else. Like, if you can go through what Brandon go through and you make it where you're at, and be as kind and respectful and things, and not have you can do it. Okay, They don't want to hear it. So now when I invite them over for like events, holidays, especially in Houston, I used to bring all my little cousins down, like my nephews for spring break. Used to have like 4 to 5 kids, like, and everything paid for. I take care of everything, but I used to have them. I bring them to work with me. Like you mentioned earlier, don't think this money just comes from nowhere. No, I'm gonna show you how it works. I'm gonna show you my diplomas. Because that's what helped me out. I had an aunt. I never forget. She showed me a shoebox with full of papers in them, and I'm like, "What's this?" She's like, "Oh, baby, let me come show you." Let me, because she was the wealthy one, full backyard, in Fort Worth, living in Stevens Hill. What's the area? Not Stevens Hill. Oh my gosh, near ODY. That's the school zone. But either way,
like Dean's trying to remember. As you said.
I
just know it's off I-20. Is all my family live off I-20.
Every Texas listener is nodding.
They know what I'm talking about. But she showed me that shoebox full of papers, and those are CDs. And she explained to me what CDs were. I'm like, so you put money in. She said, you do this at a young age. And I'm like, oh, okay. That was like my first point of investing, in life. No one else taught me that. Not even in school. I don't expect it, but I was taught that. And if you hear what Jericho even said, how many money? Where did he keep his money?
In the bed, right? In the mattress.
I have family members that's true. That's real. That is a real thing, because Black people, especially in the South, and there's a reason they don't trust banks. Okay, so when we're going to these conversations about wealth and things, and I have to show family like, hey, it takes work to get here. It's frustrating where that mind at the end when Jericho get the money. Like I said, I'm going to take off. I knew that was going to happen. I didn't even finish the full episode. I knew that was going to happen. Because Dave Chappelle said, and I love Dave Chappelle. He's one of the background. He's one of Joe Coy, Dave Chappelle, Larry King. What's my guy from Hot Ones? Dang, I can't think of his name right now. Are some of the motivators behind Everythang Culture. Because Dave Chappelle even said it when you talk about when he got mad at his father. He's like, I'm tired of being poor. And his dad said, you're not poor, you're broke. Poor is a mindset.
Yeah.
In the work that I've done, once again, I said I worked for CPS. I worked in Family Law Center. I also worked for a pawn shop, and I worked for Rent a Center. And, this is when I was in college and in high school. And, man, he was not lying. These systems are put in place to keep people poor. And when they become part of the culture, that mindset is in depth. That's why when I said he got that money, he's going to ball out at Rent a Center. I meant that because I've seen people come in, and it's not if you use it for the same thing with welfare and everything, if you use it for the right reason, use that tool. Rent a Center, even to thank y'all for the 6 months I worked there. One of my favorite jobs, But man, when I tell you it is a rip off, I mean, it's legit. You're paying 300%. Period. If you make it over that, just look. I'm not just. If you pay $500 for a PlayStation 5, once you finish all them payments, you pay $1,500. Seriously, like
I believe it.
Worked at a pawn shop. This is like in 2005, 2006. Okay, Cash America Pawn. All right, it used to be the best pawn shop you can go to. If you're trying to buy something, pawn shops are cool. Don't pawn though. Okay, so my aunt was once again nice town. Very racist town of Tyler, Texas. We stay in the north side of Tyler, Black neighborhood. We had a community. That's what I support. We had a Black community that really supported one another. Okay, you learn we uplifted one another. It wasn't bringing each other down, and I take pride in it. And that's probably one of the reasons why I am the way I am now. But working at the pawn shop, you see a diverse group of everybody. Okay, now this is my hometown. I knew many of the people that may come in. One of my aunt's friends used to come in. Okay. And didn't know it too well, but I knew it because my aunt used to throw parties, spades, games, and all that, kicking in cocktails, you name it. I used to be the little bartender and all that. So this is me at the age of 18, 19. And 18, I was 18. And she used to come in every week. I remember one week she came in, she was in tears. she's pawned her mother's. She's been pawning her mother's ring. Her mother was like, I would say, very old, elderly woman. Okay, and she had all these gold rings. She can pawn them, and the way pawn shops make their money is by you paying on the pawn. Okay, is if you pawn $1,000 with jewelry, you can't pay that $1,000 within the next 2 weeks or whatever. You have to pay like another 20, 50, whatever dollars to keep that stuff in pawn, so it won't go on the floor to be sold. Okay, a little lesson for everybody right here. So I see her struggling. Not only that, I see her paying on her pawns, paying this amount, just like begging. It's hard for me to see anyone, but it's hard to especially see a Black woman beg. Okay, and when I see the tears, my big heart I'm tearing up thinking about it. Okay, so I'm like, okay, but I also see her coming in putting stuff on layaway too. All right, so I'm like, okay, but you know what? I'm gonna help her next time she comes. I'm gonna be a good guy. Okay.
Okay, Tom.
So, man, you just how I feel. That's what I'm like. Okay. So she comes in next Friday because she's coming every Friday. I tell my she come in. I've been waiting. I tell my coworker, hey, I handle this right here. You go handle the bikes or something in the back. Clean up that lawnmower. I don't know, whatever. So I'm helping out. Like, hey, I got to help him do your favor. So I'm going to extend your pawn for this amount. So you don't have to pay that amount so you can get one of your rings and come back in. I got you. You know what I mean? So you don't have to keep it. So it makes sense, right?
Totally.
The hookup, we in positions of power. We help each other out. This woman cursed me the fuck out. I'm talking about made a scene. I'm talking about everybody in this everybody's turning around, stopping what they're doing. I'm calling me, don't count my money. Don't be telling me to do, little boy, this and this. I'm a grown woman. And I'm just taking it. Because I'm like shocked that I'm legit helping you. I'm basically putting you on a path of better well-being, and you are dragging me. Like you to the position, you're trying to get me fired. My supervisor comes out, and I'm like, oh shit. I never been in trouble at work or at school like this. I'm like, man, I'm making okay money here. I'm like, okay. He helped out, put on the same thing. I got you. That little, and we friends, you know my people. What we doing? So my supervisor comes to the back, Drake, and he white guy, his name was Dave at the time. Cool dude, big heavy set guy. He like, hey, gets a good look. You a real good person, man. You have a really big heart. I like that about you. Fuck them though.
Yeah.
You have to understand the way the world is made. People don't know what to do with their money. They're wasteful. I'm learning this at 18. And at that time, I was still fighting. He said, they're going to waste their money somewhere. Might as well waste it with me. Let me take it. And that was legit what he was like. And I'm like, with her, yeah, but no. Worked at Rent Center. I saw the same thing at Rent Center. People come in, I try to help one. Didn't want to hear it. I always say when people hit the age of 23, sometimes that's why I stop trying to tell them stuff. You're too old to learn something now. You can come to me, but I'm not going to chase you down any longer.
That's one of the reasons. No, I love that. I love all of that. And that last part that you just said, like, that's why I've decided to move from teaching into therapy, because that's like teaching. I'm required to put thoughts into these children's minds that I don't necessarily always agree with, or like how I'm teaching them. Whereas the part that I always loved and really felt like I was actually making a difference and doing a good job was the trauma work that I would do with them and intervention when they were having a traumatic moment of some kind. And just like that social emotional learning is what we call it in the school district. Like that, for me, that and the mental health for these kids who have, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, like that's where I want to focus everything that I am putting into the world. I've spent the last few years, and actually I had a teacher mentor years ago who told me that she hoped that I could be one of those teachers that was there forever, but she had a feeling that I would end up having an ulcer for every lost child. And it's very true. Like, I don't have ulcers, but I did not do well in the last, in the pandemic mentally because of how much I put into what I was doing and how little I was actually able to get coming back in. Nothing was filling my bucket, and I was filling everybody else's.
Your emotional bank account.
Yes.
You cannot go emotionally broke.
Yes.
I'm telling you. And same thing when I was heavy into work and I didn't understand it when I was a very young age, 23, 24, I used to come home to my girlfriend at the time, which is my wife now. And I used to don't talk to me for 2 hours. I used to have the amount of decompressing I had to do. The amount of not only getting cursed out by parents, yelled at by supervisors, kids, just you see them struggle. It's hard. It's very hard. And it's the secondary post-traumatic stress. So a lot of people know that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Because just because you're not experiencing it and you being such an empath or empathetic individual, man, you take that on hard.
Yeah.
And it's a real thing.
I'm out here fighting these fucking corporate battles for y'all.
Yeah.
And I'm a tough
that's
bitch.
All needed. That's all needed. It's all needed. But when I tell you, it's because I would tell my mentee, he's 23, just learning. He's in college, senior year. He's dragging his feet. He's dropping a lot of classes. I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, and he's like, I don't see the point of doing this. And I'm like, you don't see the point. I'm like, I said, I remember when you were 17, you were saying, he get free tuition for the rest of his life since he came out of foster care. He get free tuition forever. All right. Just need to keep above 2.0. He can become a doctor for free, technically, but he's dragging his feet. And I'm kind of I said, I'm lucky I'm not there. Okay. So, and I was like, I remember when you were 17, 18, when you were talking about you wanted to become a caseworker because you wanted to help kids like I helped you. We were saying no, but I know we see it in you. What happened to that spirit? I said, at the age of 23 is when I became your caseworker when you was 11 years old. So, and I was saying not to put too much pressure on you, but I think either pressure make diamonds or it bust pipes, one of the two. I said, so what if this little kid that's experienced the same thing you experienced out here, missing out because you want to play NBA 2K all day and, and push, you got to think bigger. And so what you're saying, that stress that you have, Tiara, and what you're going through, because you're making changes. When you make changes, it's not you.
Yeah.
Because you're not just affecting you, you're affecting me.
Yeah. A lot of the changes have been a long time coming, and I'm really, really happy that we are where we are. It's when you were talking about your friend earlier, I just wanted to say, in terms of growth, I absolutely believe that people can grow, because I met this one who was very much not the political leftist that you hear or see on TikTok and Twitter now. I absolutely radicalized him, and I'm fucking proud of that because I created an ally that I needed, because physically I cannot, do a lot of the things that I want to do. And he has become somebody who I absolutely 100% trust to have my back and no matter what. And
that's beautiful. Right.
Well, to be able to say that about anyone at all is great. But as a Black person, to be able to say that about a white person, I feel like that's really important too, because my nobody that I know, I don't know very many Black people, but nobody that I know has somebody like that. So.
And that's what I can tell you, it feels good. What you just said right there, and that's a whole other conversation, because over this past year, I lost some trust in some friends.
Same.
And I've grown, not only grown, and I've seen what they're there, because my previous roommate, he's been an ally, and he's an attorney, and he comes to me something crazy with the podcast. Anytime when I try to do the little raffle, he's like, be careful with that. Make sure to put this in your writing. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, you got it. Cool. And support. It's very important. That's why I say, when you have people that, and we would say white people, white men especially. I
think some of the worst moments of Dean's last few years are when he really started to understand some of the things that I've been talking about.
It's scary.
Especially in the last year since George Floyd. We just had the 1 year anniversary of that murder. And in the last year, we have had more conversations about race and race topics in general, and not just on this podcast, but all of that came out of the same thing. Yeah.
I learned more about race. Oh my gosh, racial, what is it? Race? I can't even think of it right now. It's battle fatigue. It's basically just because you're black, you need therapy. Don't get me wrong. Here on Everything Culture, we support therapy, Jesus, and counseling.
If you are lucky enough to find a black therapist,
I've been looking for one.
I found one, and it's kept me alive for the last year. Absolutely.
But we support therapy, Jesus, and edibles. That's what we support here in Everything Culture. So we're advocates for those two things. But you pick whatever fits your
well, therapy and weed are definitely on my list.
But it's racial battle fatigue. That's what it is.
Yes.
Racial battle fatigue. And it's real because you're gaslit. The microaggressions. I never forget my previous organization in Houston, Child Advocates. And they know who they are. When I was stressed, I was so upset because George Floyd is not the first black person to be killed. Right. We had Sandra Bland. Mm-hmm. Sandra Bland, that happened. And she did not hang herself. Get the fuck out of here. Okay? And I had to come back to work the next day and act like everything's okay. Everything's fine. And nobody acknowledged it. Nobody says anything. Me and all my black coworkers, I'm like the leader. I was a DEI expert just in my office. HR doesn't say nothing. But another tragedy happened in France. We got to change our profile pictures. Mm-hmm. We have to talk about it. And unfortunately, it kind of builds that. Y'all watch Lovecraft Country, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I use this all the time. When Dee, after Emmett Till died, which was her best friend, spoilers, she was upset. She was upset at everything. She was throwing rocks at even other black girls. That's that anger. Why are you happy? So when it was that show, and there's another cartoon. It was another show I watched recently that was really good. That speaks upon it. That when you think some people, and I'm saying some white people at times, when you see us angry and upset and hurt, and you act like you don't feel it, it make us feel like you don't have emotions or feelings. But when we see you actually cry or be hurt about some people you don't know, it shows us that you do have it. But you don't give a damn about us. That's what it feels like. And that's why
you were talking about the Notre Dame, right? When Notre Dame caught on fire. Is that the France thing that you were?
Was it? No, it was a train. It was
a train. Okay. Because I remember the Notre Dame thing at the exact same time that shit was. Yeah.
No, it was I think it was a train bombing. I want to say that was France. I remember it was and I'm like, but once again, hard, I empathize with that already. But do you understand what just happened? And y'all didn't say shit. I'm like, wait. And
why is it the only causes you care about are white causes?
And that's what it is. It's like, man, and I'm like, and we work in the majority of children we work with are black children.
Mm-hmm. I have a bunch of shit to say about all of this. I'm going to try and run through it as fast as possible because I know we got to move on.
Go ahead.
No, you're perfect. But I want to say first to start there, I don't want to hear it. I do not want to hear why a lot of people don't react or don't say anything is because of people like me. Because the minute you do, I'm over here side-eyeing the fuck out of you. I've talked about on this podcast, Trash Talking Podcast, a lot of the bullshit I went through in my last job. All I do is come into this place, work hard, make you a lot of money. You're treating me like shit, trying to call me a prostitute, spreading all kinds of really weird, fucked up shit about me. When I'm coming in here to work for you, and now you want to get up on this microphone when George Floyd died and give a speech about how Black Lives Matter. What about my Black life that has been pleading with you for fair treatment for the past year, and you had no shit to say about it? Don't sit here and lecture me about how a Black life matters, because I saw how you treated my Black life. Okay? Don't even try it, because I will fucking pop off on your ass. Do not come at me with that shit. You want to play? You want to post your LinkedIn? Post your LinkedIn. You want to pretend it didn't happen? Pretend it didn't happen. But don't you dare fucking say a fucking word to me, you fake motherfucker. I see you, and I will tell anyone who asks me about you exactly who you are. That's one. The second thing, though, guys, this is kind of going to go back, and I'm going to try and tie this all together, is about people so when we're talking about Drake's old co-host who tries to crack jokes about everything and tried to say Kaepernick needs to get over it, and the lady at the pawn shop, these people, this is the classic thing I always say on this podcast. I don't think these people are as dumb as they act. I think they honestly do get it. Growing up in hood culture as well, growing up dirt poor and just being in this lifestyle, I was lucky that I had a mom in a strange way who grew up even more poor than I could imagine and taught me like not to flex. Like that's a big thing we kind of have to address when having this conversation. Like flex culture is bullshit. When you kind of learn like, yo, people are going to judge you either way. I don't need to have the best, the latest, the grandest, and stop seeking external validation, you will do a lot better. To me, that is a big part of what this fucking pandemic was all about. I got a lot of calls from a lot of people having a lot of breakdowns because just their jobs were going away and their cars are, and this is legit. That's your survival being threatened. I get it. But it was I can't hang out with this person. I've been alone for too long. I can't date. I haven't had sex in 6 months. Like these are real fucking calls I'm getting of people really having breakdowns. And meanwhile, my little weird asshole self is just sitting in the house because I kind of went through a lot of fucked up shit in my youth and learned to have to go it alone and be confident in doing shit alone. These people, I think they honestly, when you grow up in lack, you start to look around, and like why I brought up my mom is that this was a woman who just went without. She learned how to go without. It's what you do. It's survival. And I think though, as Black people especially, and I know a lot of other poor white people and poor people of every race are listening to this, probably people from third world countries that were poorer than I can imagine, listen to this and say, bitch, please. Because when you constantly have to go without, you start to get into this notion of, you know what, fuck it. I haven't eaten a fucking fast food sandwich in 3 years. I'm going to have this fucking Big Mac. Or you know what, I'm going to buy this PlayStation 5 because it gives me a moment of release from the war, from the post-traumatic stress that I'm building. Please give me this moment of release. I need it. And people are built mentally different. And so I get why they need it. So when you get people who kind of like poke at what appears to be ignorance, I think it triggers like a, oh my God, it's so raw. Please get away from me. I'm trying to survive mentally. Like I'm doing this dumb shit, what seems dumb to you because I'm trying to survive mentally. I know it's hurting me it's like getting that hit. Sorry, I know you want to speak. Yeah, it's like getting that hit of your drug. Like, just let me have this, get off me, man. Let me have this moment, which is why I just shut the fuck up about why a lot of people do the shit they do. It's not wise and it's not smart. And I do think for both of you, for all three of you, yes, like teaching youth, yeah, that's the right move. That's the way you do it. But that's why I say like our society is weird. It's all this flex shit. It's all this, show off shit. That becomes the hit. That becomes the drug. I got to get this. I got to do this. And so like, yo, if you are listening to this and you took nothing away from this pandemic or it didn't change anything in your life, you're very lucky. But I really feel hopefully this kind of withdrawal from society encouraged a lot of people to start sitting with themselves and getting confident in themselves and realizing that a lot of this bullshit is a bunch of bullshit. It doesn't change anything for you. And listen, if you need that PlayStation 5 to get through the pandemic and you're going to pay $1,500 for it, yo, that's dumb as fuck. But if it gets you through, you do it. I don't know what else to say. It's like society is broken so much that I'm very cautious about like how I kind of like side eye the fuck out of people. And again, when the pandemic started, we talked about this on an old episode of the Trash Talking, one of the first ones. When the pandemic started, I was having a conversation with my mom and she was like, oh yeah, I'm going to send you and your husband some dried beans, some powdered milk, just shit she keeps in her basement because my mom was a kid of depression parents. My family I'm the youngest of 90-something cousins. First. Yep. Yeah. And she's like, oh, and she said to me like, I hope you're not scared. I raised you to survive. She said something to that effect, like you were raised to survive. So like it gets into a lot of the shit. But y'all, just the big takeaway for me is get real fucking comfortable with yourself. This external world you are in is a bunch of smoke and fucking mirrors. please stop buying into this shit. And even how I just sat here and said like, oh, I was so pissed about my last job and da-da-da, and you're going to get up here and do this performative stuff. Fuck them niggas. Fuck it. You do your performance. You do what you got to do to survive, and fuck the rest of this noise. Fuck it. I'm done.
Yeah. And just to tie it in with the episode, like, I can absolutely see both sides, and what it comes down to is somewhere in the middle. There's no right or wrong answer to this. I mean, there's probably a million wrong answers really, but there is no win-win situation here. And I feel bad for the family that has no home, and I feel bad for Granddad and Huey and Riley, who have to deal with the family that has no home now living in their home. And it's interesting. Like when we were going to record yesterday, I was like, oh, this episode just kind of bores me. It doesn't really do anything for me. But I know. But that's because it's a good episode. But what I was expecting from the conversation was not what we have now had for the last 2.5 hours. Like this has been a really good new look at it for me, and how like the tangents that we went on, and actually this happens almost every episode for me. Like the tangents we go on, I'm like, I had no idea we would end up talking about this or that or whatever. And I really just wanted to point out that in this episode, like, I'm really thankful that there was a lot more depth to the little bits of the actual show, and that we could really relate to pieces. And I related to stuff even more talking than I did watching it originally. So, yeah. So, do you guys have anything else that you wanted to talk about from the episode today?
I'll give my quick take on it. Like I said, being an empath as well and having to learn to set boundaries. Here's my take on it. Listen, y'all. You can't control if you're an empathetic person. You're going to feel bad for probably fucking anyone. You could walk up to me with a fucking bullshit sob story. I'm probably going to feel empathy for you. However, having come, to being full force in my boundaries and my adult and my logic, I don't give a fuck how bad I feel for you. You're not running game on me. Listen, this is the line you draw. You give when it feels comfortable to you. The minute giving does not feel comfortable for you, we're done here. And that's it. That's the end of the story. You don't owe a motherfucker a thing, and a motherfucker doesn't owe you a thing. And that is it. Give when you want to give, and don't give when you don't want to give. That's it. There's nothing else I can tell you. When you feel like I am uncomfortable, stop it right now. Move on.
Oh, that's what I need to get good at. That part.
You will. You fucking will. I know.
And now, like, putting down, like, to my boss and saying, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. I'm, like, that for me was such a big fucking step. Like, I've been on this path my entire life of working to where I am right now. And now that I'm here, I'm like, no, this isn't actually as what I thought it was going to be, and I can't do it. And I'm like, I don't ever feel brave, but I can honestly say that right now, I feel like I'm doing the bravest thing in my life by selling this house and moving. Completely changing my career. Well, not completely, really. It's the same career, just without someone else's bullshit expectation and standardized testing that I don't believe in. And yeah. So.
You got this.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Fuck yeah, bitch. And you brave. Fuck.
Working on it. All right. Are we ready? I think we're... Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome to Stupid White People Questions.
You mean I'm gonna stay this color?
Well, hello.
I can't not giggle every fucking time.
Well, you got the jerk. Come on, Steve.
Oh, no,
Steve Martin. I mean, you mean I'm gonna stay this color? I mean, that's
too perfect. Especially considering we're getting into some of the really ridiculous white people questions.
Notice how I looked at the microphone instead of you.
Yeah, I got it. I picked it up. You're good.
Get in your microphone.
I keep leaning back.
Anyway, so as you know, we are on the TikToks, as is Drake on with Everythang Culture. And we are buddies on there. But I put out, as you know, a request for stupid white people questions, and TikTok did not disappoint. Today's stupid white people question is from Peaked in HS, so Peaked in high school, I'm guessing, on TikTok. Do you run fast because you have an extra muscle in your leg?
See, so our Patreon patrons have already heard me say, like, this is just like the fucking where's your tail question. Like, it's one of those things where there are white people out there who genuinely think that there is something biologically different about Black people. And which is
very dangerous.
Right?
Are you saying Black people are very dangerous? Is that what you just said?
I know, right. Like, and that's why X-Men was making about us.
Yeah.
But
and here I am not knowing which side to choose in X-Men too. So
yeah.
Mm.
And when they understand we got to come together, that's when the power happens.
Mm-hmm.
But first of all, I do not run fast, so I'm missing that muscle myself.
I don't run
whatever
fast.
That muscle is. No, that doesn't make a lot of sense at all.
You mean not everybody is Usain Bolt?
Man,
and even Usain Bolt does not have an extra muscle in his leg.
Are you sure? I mean,
and across, he's fast as shit. And don't get me wrong. What about the white kid that's breaking out of records right now?
Right?
Please tell me you've seen that.
He's got the vitiligo. That's what happened.
Hey, can I be honest? I thought so too. Can we be honest? I thought he was or something. I'm like, shit. But he's not. Both his parents are white. And he's just fast as hell. He trained. He worked. He comes with practice. Genetics. I think both his parents are athletes. A lot of track runners' parents are athletes as well. So not only you come with the genetics, but you come with parents that you probably told you you probably run as a kid with them and stuff of that nature.
Yep.
Or in the case of a lot of Black athletes who were born in countries not ending in America. Because there are a couple of those, I think. Anyway,
what?
Like a lot of those kids will grow up like I want to say it was Usain Bolt, but I might be wrong. There was a children's book that I actually read to my students not that long ago that was about an athlete who grew up running everywhere because it was fun and ended up being a world. I think it is Usain Bolt. I need to find that. But like that's for him, it was just part of his culture. We just we go running everywhere. I don't wear shoes because I don't have to worry about asphalt and rocks and stuff like that. It's just dirt. And
that was like the guy that now I'm trying to remember his name. He was I think part Native American. He actually ran.
That was somebody else.
Okay,
but that was someone. They stole his shoes, so he had to run in dress shoes.
Yep.
I know who you're talking about.
How hard is to run in dress shoes?
Right? Mm-hmm. Well, it was either that or barefoot, and it was the Olympics.
Yeah,
so it's like Jim something or
in Germany.
Americanized name. Yeah.
Jim Thorpe.
Thorpe.
There
yes.
you go.
So people of color who
he also played football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was signing up from football. That's all like that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been a lie that's been perpetuated for generation upon generation.
Years on Henrietta Lacks. We can go on and on about history. That's why I say
Black people exceptionality only in sports or whatever, but like they're exceptional. They must have something different about them because they're exceptional at this thing.
Because we built different. No,
right?
We're not. You know,
right?
What's from Louisiana? Oh my God, what's her name? It was in. She was in the Coven, American Horror Story. What's her name?
Not Angela Bassett.
Not Angela Bassett.
The Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates, her character.
Yeah.
LaLaurie.
LaLaurie, yes. Madame LaLaurie. Mm-hmm.
That is a true story.
Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't even do it as fucking gruesome as the true story. Like she used to cut pieces off her slaves that were trapped in the attic. When the house was burning down, she refused to tell anyone there were people in there to save them. There's so much stuff. That story is just
I'm glad y'all know the story. I'm glad y'all know the story.
I know. I also heard she never faced any crime. Nope. Yeah, she survived and she moved back. And
I don't know about her moving back. The stories I hear, they never found her. She probably did move
that she
back.
I heard that she had gotten away.
Yep,
and
I
that's
heard
what
she
kind of
went
led
to
into
France.
that's what kind of led into the story where she was kind of found and they got her and buried her and things from the story from Coven.
I like the way that American Horror Story.
She wanted to experiment because she thought our bodies were different. She wanted to know.
Eugenics.
Eugenics, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So
there you go.
I do want to throw in a fun fact here.
Do it.
Which is on my favorite episode, which I think we talked about. I might be wrong. The last time that Drake was on, The Legend of Jimmy Rebel, Uncle Ruckus sings a lyric where he's like, "That extra bone in they leg, right? Run in."
and we are going to do that. I promise we are going to do that episode. I know it's they've left. I know it wasn't on Comedy Central, and they've left it off of the ones on HBO Max as well. So I'll have to.
We're looking for other venues.
I think it's out on YouTube.
Oh yes.
Anyway, it will happen.
So yeah, we will cover. We'll definitely cover that one because it needs to be. So
absolutely,
yes, it's the best one.
All right, I think that should cover it. Is there any final thoughts that you guys have about this episode, or that you just want to say because you just love talking?
Rip Paul Mooney.
Rip Paul Mooney. Absolutely.
I want to say that.
If you came to us from TikTok, you probably came because of that TikTok. What the fuck do you call that? That post?
A TikTok.
Okay. All right. It's a lot of
words.
words.
Do want to
a ticker, a talk.
A ticker, a talk. I do want to give a big fucking thank you to Drake for being with us and making this episode
especially so
late.
Yeah, we the last couple of weeks we have struggled because of heat causing brownouts in California and baseball playoffs for this future MLB kid that MJ is apparently raising. And seriously, that's what's happening right now. Is her kid is playing in a championship game right now.
Heart surgeries and
Dean had heart surgery, and it's just like the last few weeks have been really hard to get an episode out.
Well, I remember you posting about this.
Yeah, and I know I haven't said it on here. Basically, Friday before last, I woke up having chest pains, and I'd been having. Yeah, it was the 14th. And it had been going on for a month and a half, but they were not
that bad.
Yeah, they weren't lasting. They were a couple of minutes.
Is it heartburn?
But
maybe?
I went in to see my doctor. My doctor said, "Well, if it happens again, it's more than 5 minutes. Go to the ER." Well, I woke up on the 14th, and it lasted 40 minutes. So we went into the ER. And they did all kinds of tests. They did X-rays. They did EKGs. They all this stuff that they did blood draws. So they found out there was no heart attack. There's an enzyme that your body produces when you have a heart attack, and that was not there. And so they were thinking maybe it was some real bad GERD. And so I was getting reflux up into my esophagus up here, which was making the pain in my chest. But they said, we want to give you a stress test just to be sure. And so,
which before going into the ER, they were going to make him wait until the middle of July.
No, June 15th.
Okay,
June 15th was when. Well, yeah.
Wow.
So I
over a month from when it happened.
So I had where was I? So so stress tests. They take you in there and they put all the leads on you. And to get you ready to go on the treadmill, but first they get you, they put you on a gurney and have you relax, and they do an ultrasound. And so they did the ultrasound on my heart, and the tech who was doing it, he saw something. He goes, "Well, I'm not sure about this." He goes, "I'm going to call the doctor in." So they called the doctor in. He says, "Yeah, I see what but I think we're okay to do the test." So I started the test. 5 minutes in, the pain starts again. And they put me back on the gurney, and they ultrasound my heart again, and they can see where it's like really constricting and blood is not getting out. Blood is getting in, it's not getting out. So it's not oxygenating. And so it's happening in what they call the LAD, the left anterior descending artery, which is also known as the Widowmaker.
That was fun to have the doctor say over and over again while I'm waiting.
If you know who Kevin Smith is, from Clerks and Mallrats, et cetera, he had a heart attack from his Widowmaker. Which is why he's now lost a whole bunch of weight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they went into my wrist and did what they call a cardiac catheterization. Went into my wrist, up into my heart, blew up a balloon, put a stent in, and then they showed me a before and after, and you could see it was like day and night with the amount of blood flow that ended up going through my heart. So even my resting heart rate has decreased by almost 10 beats per minute. Which, I mean, it was not bad before.
No, it was actually kind of low before, but
so now it's like I'm in
but now
mid-50s.
It's not working so hard when you actually are moving your body.
Yeah. So
you're improved.
Yeah, I'm still healing up because I get it takes a while. So I'm taking meds, all kinds of stuff. So, but yeah, I feel. I mean, it hasn't happened since. They've given me nitroglycerin in case anything happens. But yeah, nothing. I mean, since it's been almost 2 weeks now. And
considering it was happening 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all good. I mean, fortunately I've got lots of people who love me and encourage me to make sure I got to the ER.
Who finally talked him into going to the ER after like 3 days of going, are you sure?
Me.
Are you sure? No, we're going now.
They're needed.
You're putting on pants.
Yeah. So but anyway, I feel much, much better. So I now I just need to get a little bit of exercise. They're telling me they want me to get up to 30 minutes a day, which, I mean,
he's sedentary most of the time. So
I work from home. I work from home and I'm an introvert.
They were good with the diet because we'd already changed that to having an actual home cooked meal most nights.
I do the HelloFresh thing.
And
HelloFresh, if you'd like to sponsor us.
Yeah, totally. I can totally talk about how HelloFresh has had me try food that I never would have as an autistic person who has texture issues. And how happy he is that there's more than 3 meals that I will eat now consistently.
So, but yeah, it's got me cooking and eating good meals and some vegetables and stuff like that. So yeah, I think And
once it's not 900 degrees in the house,
or
we move in somewhere that has air conditioning.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Air conditioning. I need me some air conditioning. That's the thing that I missed about when I'm moving up here. Everywhere in Texas, Drake, you could probably attest to this. There's no place that doesn't have air conditioning. You go from your house.
I say it all the time.
You go from your house that has air conditioning to your car that has air conditioning to wherever the hell it is you're going that has air conditioning.
Yep. It's a life changer. And that's what it took us a while to find a place here in Seattle. A lot of places didn't have air conditioning.
Yeah.
Right. We're not staying anywhere without air conditioning.
This city has not embraced the fact that our climate is very different from what it was 30 years ago.
And trust, and even this year, I'm like, man, I got this a little warm this year. Last year, I was wearing the sweaters in June. I'm like, no, not this year. Not right now.
Well, we usually have a January.
Yeah,
this is June 2nd today. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
there will be like a 2-week period in the middle of the month that it's gray every day. But
I'm all for that.
That's pretty normal.
I mean, but because right now it feels more like Texas with the humidity.
It's so humid
because it's not really that hot. It's just very humid.
Yeah. Yeah,
and Houston is very humid.
Oh yeah,
I can't. Can't stand that.
All right, so yeah, that's
all right. All right, so once again, where can people find you, Drake?
Well, y'all can find me almost anytime you type in Everythang Culture. Boom, right there, and that's an A. That's an A. It's thing because I am from Texas. I am from the South.
All right,
everything.
You know what I mean.
All right,
but there's a V in there. It's not everything.
Everything. Everything. That was so you're looking at Georgia when you're saying if you're leaving the V off.
All right.
Everything.
It's different Southern dialect.
That's right.
Because once again, I'm from East Texas, which is closer to Shreveport, Louisiana. So we have kind of a Louisiana accent, but not New Orleans accent, things of that nature. So it's very unique. Yeah, it's crazy because even when I go to Houston, I sound country. Okay. But you get almost on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're on Red Circle, which is our RSS now. You can check us out. Twitter, where only thing that's different is on Twitter. Anything else you're looking for is just Everythang Culture on Twitter. We're Every THG Culture. Just want to short it up for y'all.
Every THG.
Every THG. And that will be in our show notes.
Yes.
Okay. Every THG Culture.
All right. And everybody else out there, don't forget that we are on Patreon now. If you want to hear more than an hour and a half. Let's see. Today's episode altogether is probably 3 hours and change, but you're only getting an hour and a half. So, if you even be a cheap patron every month, and you will get much more content from us, and we would love to have you.
Yeah, you can get it in a buck.
Yeah,
even a buck.
Even a buck. All right. We will see y'all next week.
Thank y'all.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I need you to get the hell up out of here.
Hey, thanks for joining us again as we make our way through the trials and tribulations of the Freeman family. We hope to see you back again next time for Home Alone.
Want to know where to find us on the social medias or where to subscribe to the podcast? Just head right over to www.theboondockspod.com/links.
Have a stupid white people question you want to leave us? Email us at host@theboondockspod.com or leave us a voicemail at 760-933-8636. That's 760-3-undo.
Shout out to the artists who've created our intro and outro tunes. Our intro is #MakeAChange by KIRK. You can find them on Spotify, iTunes, and Tidal. Our outro is Good Times by Audiobinger. You can find them on freemusicarchive.org and YouTube.